currently pursuing mechanical engineering. I'm in my fourth year, and my parents both are engineers, and I currently reside in Ahmedabad.
Okay.
So in my college, I've been part of both core and non-core activities. So I've been a design engineer at IIT Bombay Racing Team. I've been a teaching assistant, and I'm currently the president of Share IIT Bombay, which is a student strategy consulting group. Professionally, I've done my internships at Hero Motocorp and Lear Corporation, but I'm currently placed at Mastercard as an associate analyst. Other than that, I've been exploring culturals a lot, and I've been quite active in that, especially in stand-up comedy. So I've been pursuing stand-up comedy from my first year, and I've been performing it as well.
Okay. Okay. So you said something about being, in the IT Bombay consulting. I don't know if it's a group or a club. What's that exactly?
Yeah.
Okay. So what do
So
you get?
share is actually sorry.
What do you do exactly? What do you do? Not the club.
Okay. So, like I have dual roles. So I am a senior student consultant as well as I am the president. So as a president, my job is to like make sure that all the events are conducted. So we conduct various activities, training sessions, and case studies. So as a president, my role is to make sure that all these activities are conducted smoothly, and it involves contacting people, alumni, or trained professionals to help us out in all these events. As a senior consultant, I take part in various projects and lead my team for some projects. So we are currently participating with Mahika Mishra Foundation, which is an NGO. We're involved in a project with them. So these are the two roles that I'm
So
currently.
what is the biggest challenge you faced as the president of this particular club rather than, and how did you overcome it?
So I think the biggest challenge that we faced as a team was that the club had been on its downfall for a few years. So although like it has some good alumni, but for the past 2 years, its image was not really good because people were not really active in that. They were going out for other clubs. So like the biggest challenge was to establish ourselves as forefront leaders in this sector. So if people want to get into consulting, we want that they come to our club to train with us. So establishing that image was really difficult, but we've been working on that. We have laid some foundation, and I think for that we first like selected the people who were really enthusiastic about getting into consulting, and for that we had some um, quizzes and case studies and various group discussions, etc. So through all these activities, we recognized those people who were really interested, and through them we have been taking up many activities to sustain this.
Okay. You said about being placed at MasterCard, but you didn't mention any work ex in your profile. You've not started yet.
Yeah, no, I'm in my fourth year. I'll start in probably July, I guess.
What did you do in your internship at Hero Motorcorp? What
So
is
in
your
Hero
biggest learning
Motocorp, I was in
inside the role? Tell me your biggest learning.
biggest learning. I think like the biggest learning was how production is planned in a big organization. So that's what I worked upon. So like I was working in supplier quality assurance where I needed to identify the main defects in the assembly line and rectify them. So like through all these through my role, I could really see how like various companies are working in harmoniously. For the vendor, there is a vendor which supplies the products, and then there are assembly lines, there are manufacturing lines and machining lines as
What
well.
are the
So
various
all
types
these
of
need to be
production
synchronized
systems?
together.
What are the various types of
Sorry.
production systems?
So essentially, there are two types of production systems: push system and pull system. Uh, so in the push system, you basically manufacture according to a forecast. So you set a target and you manufacture based on that. While in a pull system, you manufacture as and when there is a demand occurring. And then there are systems which are hybrid of push and pull.
Ever heard of job production system, batch production system, mass production system?
Yeah, I've heard of those systems. I guess like they get into like if you get into deeper. So a batch production system, basically you're manufacturing. There's a small batch, for example, of 10 products. So you're manufacturing. Let's say you have some four varieties of products that you are manufacturing on one single machine. So in a batch production system, you're manufacturing first 10A, then 15B, then 5C. That is a batch production system. And there's job production system, which I guess is when you're completing one entire job, which is mostly happening in the assembly line.
Can you name an industry
And
that would utilize
uh,
a production system?
job production system,
An industry which would utilize job production system, which would use this particular type of production system. Can you name one?
shipbuilding, shipbuilding.
Okay. And how about project production system?
Sorry,
Ever heard of project production system? Project is a type of production system.
I haven't heard of it. Sorry.
Um, okay. So tell me, what is the zeroth law of thermodynamics?
The zeroth law of thermodynamics states that if system A and system B are in equilibrium and system B and C are in equilibrium, then system A and C will be in equilibrium.
Okay. Is it based on a particular type of equilibrium?
Thermal equilibrium.
Okay. Who came up with this fourth law, zeroth law of thermodynamics?
I'm not sure of the particular name who came up with it. I just know that like zeroth law was like came up after the discovery of first and second law. That's why it's named as zeroth law, because it's the most fundamental law and people were really ignoring it. But they decided that they need to explicitly mention
Okay. Then tell me one application of this.
it. One application, a thermometer.
Are you sure about it?
Yeah, I mean, thermometer, in thermometer, basically the thermometer comes in equilibrium with our body. So first it's in, so that's why, or like a better example I think would be,
Okay, let it be. Okay.
mm,
So you've seen, to be doing well in your 10th and 12th. However, your percentage has dropped in your graduation. Care to explain?
yeah, I think like it dropped a bit. So like when I first came in the college, in my first year, I was like really focused on exploring a lot. So I've been part of cultural team, I've been part of sports team, I've been part of technical team. So I had a lot of things on my hand, and I kind of focused a little less on my academics in my first year, because also like there was this like image that was created that you just need to get into IIT and then you can chill out. So for the
So what?
first 2 years, like I kind of maintained my grade, so it was consistently around 82%. And I was exploring a lot, so I was trying to ascertain where I want to get, and I was trying to develop my own personality, because before that I think I was a really nerdy person, where I was just involved in books. That's it. I never used to communicate with anyone, but I think I developed myself and really worked on my communication skills as well. But in third year, I have started working on academics.
If you've been able to explore, cultural, technical, management, and a lot of, aspects in your college life, what made you, what is your motivation to do an MBA, pursue an MBA after such diverse experience at such a good engineering college?
So yeah, so like I explored both the technical field and the non-technical field, and I kind of realized that I think like my strengths and my interests lay more towards like working on business problem solving. And I think like uh, since I've explored consulting, I felt that this is where I could really do well while impacting positively to the industry. and I think I could be working on my strengths, which is my communication skills. So that is an added benefit. So for that reason itself, I decided that I should get into like non-core.
Okay. Have you decided on a specialization yet?
Since I've explored consulting, so and I feel that I could really do well there. So I'm kind of inclined towards getting into strategic consulting or management consulting. But I'll obviously be exploring the other opportunities when I get into MBA.
There's a consultant vertical for every field. I'm sure you must be aware.
Yeah, so strategic consulting particularly I mentioned because I've explored that.
Okay. Why not operations? Because you're a mechanical engineer and you seem to be sound with your technical knowledge. So why not operations? I think that will be more aligned, with your past experience in education.
Yeah, well,
Recruiting
that's
operations are
there.
getting known as well, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but like I was more interested in strategic consulting because I have done a few case studies and I felt that like this is some field which I want to get into. But yes, there's operations as well, which I think I could do well as well.
Okay.
So
Just a
I'll
second.
be
Just a second.
exploring more in MBA. Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. So Kshitiz, where do you see yourself 5 years down the line?
So 5 years down the line, so I really want to explore the field and like explore the various diverse functions in the industry and try to gain knowledge in as many sectors as I can early on so that I can really ascertain where I want to go in the long term. So that's what I'll be focusing on, developing my own knowledge and like setting a fundamental base in the industry.
Okay. So you're from Ahmedabad, right?
Yeah.
What's the most attractive tourist spot at Ahmedabad, in Ahmedabad?
It's the riverfront, Sabarmati riverfront.
Okay.
So, like they've really developed it well. There's a big garden there, and you have opportunity to just walk around along the like bank, or there are options for cycling as well. So
Okay.
it has been really beautifully constructed, and there's a footbridge being constructed there as well.
Okay. And there's an ashram also nearby, I suppose.
Yeah, it's a bit nearby, Sabarmati Ashram. That's where Gandhiji stayed mostly, and that's where the Dandi March began from.
Okay. When did the Dandi March happen?
1931, if I'm not wrong. Like
Okay.
this was the like beginning of civil disobedience movement, I think.
Okay. So tell me one fact about Ahmedabad that is not known to a common person who's not, been to Ahmedabad and has not Googled on Ahmedabad. That is not there, easily a piece of information that is easily available.
I think Ahmedabad is really known for its food. So that's available on the like in net, but people don't really know that how much people love food in Ahmedabad. So if you go out at 12 or 1 a.m., even then you'll find stalls where you'll get really superb food. And then there's Manek Chowk, which is specially known in Ahmedabad for its food. So it opens at around 9 p.m. and stays open till 2 a.m., I guess.
I've already heard of Manik Chowk. So what did you say were your hobbies?
So I'm a big stand-up and comedy enthusiast.
Okay. Can you tell me a joke right now? A really funny one.
Okay. Why did the customer call the waiter?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Why did the customer call the waiter?
Okay. Why?
There was a bat in the china.
There was a
Bat in the china.
okay. Actually, I think I should be sharing the feedback right now because there are a lot of points that I've written I would want to cover. So is that okay?
Sure.
We
Yeah,
conclude
yeah.
here.
Okay.
So first I'll share my feedback and then you can ask any questions if you have.
Okay.
So firstly, when you started with your introduction, I think it was, have you practiced or rehearsed your introduction? It didn't look like it's rehearsed or or penned it down and rehearsed it.
I have rehearsed it one or two times, like not much.
Then my advice to you is to, write down these very typical HR questions, pen them down and rehearse them. Just not when you speak them out in the interview, it should look like you mug them up. It shouldn't be like that. You should add expressions and pauses. But the more well prepared you are with these questions, the better it shows, your sincerity towards the interview as well. So for the
Okay.
typical questions like where do you see yourself 5 years down the line? Where do you see yourself 10 years down the line? Why MBA? Your introduction. Write down these answers and practice them before a mirror. Okay.
Okay.
Uh, Coming to the other point you said about, when I asked you where you see yourself in 5 years, it was not a very clear answer. So see, people at IIMs, the panelists, the professors, they're looking for two things. First of all, they'll see whether or not you know what you've done in the past, which is related to your academics. So about production systems, job batch continuous, it's a very common question, and you should have been able to answer it in the first four without me, giving you a cue as to what they are and then you explaining them because you already knew it, but you didn't give the answer in the first four. So read the basic mechanical related questions. Okay. The other
Okay.
thing the interviewers are interested in is knowing whether you know in which direction you are going. So clarity of goals is of utmost importance. While it is okay to not be sure about specialization, it is it is extremely important that you know what you want to do in the long term. You have at least a vague idea and you are certain about it. Okay. The positive part about your interview was that you were able to maintain a certain flow, a certain confidence, but with some questions, it was like you were just taking a guess. And if you're taking a guess, you should at least say that I'm not sure, but I'm trying to attempt this question, or I want to, I want to try. That shows sincerity towards, wanting to try to answer a question. But if you're just guessing, it looks bad.
Okay.
So the way you said thermometers, it seemed your answers were correct, but you were not very sure about them. Okay. So if you are certain about your answer, show more confidence. If you are not, mention that, I'm not very sure, but I'm trying. Okay. Your tonality should not like
Okay.
thermometer. It cannot be like that. Okay. Your
Okay.
answers in situation-based questions were very long. Okay. They were not well structured, and there was no, there seemed to be no end. I had to cut you short to be able to ask the next question that popped into my mind. So do not do that. Keep the answers crisp and short and very clear. Have you ever heard
Okay.
of the star approach?
Sorry.
Star approach.
No, I don't know that.
So star is situation, task, action, and response. This is the approach you should adopt for explaining situation-based questions, wherein you explain the situation in 2 to 3 lines, then the task as to what your objective was in that situation, and then you explain the action as to what you did in the next 2 3 lines, and then you explain the response or the result that you gained because of those actions. STAR star. Use this approach, to structure
Okay.
your answers in situation based questions. The answers that you were giving towards the start, they were very low impact answers, trying to that I did this also, okay, I did a little of this also, I did a little of this also. It shows, it was sort of confusing. So I'd suggest that you come up with a little more, um, more impactful answers. You understand? Because you do not have work experience, so you will have to justify it with your college experiences. And it's a good thing that you are from a tier one college, okay? So that's a positive. But the chances of them grilling you on your acads will also be higher because of that. So prepare well.
Okay.
Um, I think I did. Yeah, I thought I'll ask you about your weaknesses because you don't seem to be very clear. But do prepare an answer on your strengths and weaknesses also. It's a very common question.
Okay.
The Zeroth Law of Thermodynamics was coined by Ralph H. Howler, and the application part was correct. Production systems was also okay, but again, structure was missing from the answer. You know, there are three types of, you start with like that, there are three or four types of production systems. These are the names, then you explain each and you give an example of at least one industry wherein that production system is being utilized. When I asked you about your internship at Hero Motocorp, that was also a very vague answer. I couldn't get exactly what you did. So I think you need a lot of work, on structuring your answers because I'm sure you know what you were able to learn, how you handle things, but you're not able to communicate it clearly. And during the interview, you said that communication is your strong point. So you don't want to, you know, be able to claim a thing and not justify it in that 15-minute or 20-minute slot. So that's there. About your academics, I think 85.6 is a decent percentage. You can justify it well. Just prepare your answer to this also because they might ask that. Mm,
Okay.
stand-up comedy is okay, but you said about culturals. Is there anything else you do? You sing,
Yeah.
art, any?
So yeah, I've been part of like dance and Roots Club, which is a classical and folk arts club.
Okay, so mention that. When I asked you about your cultural specifically, you just mentioned the comedy part. Just mention more of the things that you've done, okay? And
Okay.
if you do, I'm sure they will ask you if you have training in that. You can say that you're not trained, but you just tried your hands on it during the college
Okay.
tenure or something like that. Know about your city. Your Dandi March year was 1930. It's not 1931. That's all right. That's one year. You can say somewhere around 1930s. Okay. Um,
Okay.
I think that's all right. That is all from my end. Yeah, your motivation to do an MBA is also not very clear. Please write down your answer and rehearse it. It's extremely important and it's a very typical question asked in interview. If you're not able to justify why you want to do an MBA, I don't think your interviews are going to go well. So prepare a good answer, get it reviewed, and rehearse it enough time so that you do not fumble while answering in the interview. Because there is going to be added pressure also. So the more prepared you are, the better it is, for you to be the way you appear in the interview exactly. If you have any questions, you can ask me.
No, I think like you've covered most of the stuff.
Okay, and for I am interviews also. If they're asking you to ask a question, ask something. Okay, just a little added feedback from my end. If you're asked, to, if you have whether or not you have any
So
questions.
what kind of question should I ask like in the
You can
interview if they
ask
ask me?
something related to the interview, for example, something you were not able to answer or something that was discussed at length during the interview. You can ask that, or you can ask something about the college curriculum, any particular subject, because you've not decided on the specialization, but you could ask, about the subjects, anything about the college history that is fascinating. You can ask something related to that.
Okay.
Okay, all
Okay.
the best, Bye.
Thank you.